Well, welcome to It's an Inside Job BiteSize Fridays, your weekly dose of resilience, optimism, and well-being to get you ready for the weekend. Now, each week, I'll bring you insightful tips and uplifting stories to help you navigate life's challenges and embrace a more positive mindset. And so with that said, let's slip into the stream. Well, welcome back to another BiteSize Friday. I'm your host, Jason Lim. We are going to time travel back to Season 1, Episode 19, with my guest, Christine Lindholt, where the conversation focuses on self-development through self-awareness. And in this segment, we are going to delve into the understanding of personal triggers and the power of vulnerability. Christine explains how the Enneagram can be used practically to enhance self-awareness, allowing individuals to recognize and manage their triggers effectively. By embracing vulnerability, we can discover strengths and foster resilience. So this actionable advice is perfect for anyone looking to grow personally and professionally. I hope you guys enjoy this week's BiteSize Fridays episode. What would you say, if we may explore, what was one of the fears that you discovered about yourself?
A fear of rejection, a fear of not being loved, which turned into a bit of people pleasing, and feeling like I always had to adjust to other people's agenda. What do people expect of me? And how do I make sure that I'm lovable? And the Enneagram also made me realize that each personality has its unique gift, but if you're not aware, you can overuse that gift, which I was in the process of doing. I was being very considerate, but I was being too considerate to the point that I was losing myself.
So that particular trait or that quality about yourself can be advantageous, but if we tend to lean too much on it, what it sounds like, then it becomes something that actually hinders us, that can actually act as a detractor towards us. Is that what I understand?
Yeah. So it's about balancing your strength. Otherwise, it could become your weakness. And I think a lot of people have seen that during the pandemic, that a big crisis like that actually can change our behaviors. We can become a little too much of ourselves. I felt that my tendency to help others, that I have at times been trying too hard to reach out everywhere, and in the end I don't have any more energy left. So I have to make sure that I don't overextend, that I don't overdo that gift that I have and that willingness to help others.
I think sometimes the analogy I tend to use is that, we can have a bank account. I think this is something we talked about, and you're constantly giving money out to charities, to other people. But if we don't take time to fill up that bank account, we become the charity case ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense. So this self-awareness drove you more towards coaching, and that was more in line or aligned with your values and to help other people, to help groups, teams, and individuals. So what was you said that, so that was one of the fears. What was one of your longings?
To feel really loved and seen, and being able to be who I was, be authentic. And my coaching journey has been very much about that, accepting who I am and accepting my gifts and being true to that and being authentic, being vulnerable. And that's very much how I work too. When I do workshops and talks, I'm not afraid to share my weaknesses and my areas of development. And that sometimes helps others to be able to be vulnerable and dare to speak up and say what their struggles are.
And it sounds like you're very good to set a stage of psychological safety in that, because I think part of it is that vulnerability, that courage to kind of confront our strengths and our weaknesses, and to speak about them. Because once you do that, obviously that kind of primes others in the room or in that meeting to be able to do the same thing. And that's, I think, I think Brene Brown speaks a lot to that. I don't know what exactly she calls the term, but she talks about embracing the vulnerability. And that's like what you do wholeheartedly and authentically.
Yeah, it's really important to me. And I think also that it's made me realize how vulnerability really can get you closer to other people, make you feel more connected. And some people think, they don't want to let other people be bothered by their problems, challenges, but they're sort of robbing other people of the opportunity to be there for them, and that was an insight for me, because I was always helping other people, wanting to be there for others, but I needed to also be able to receive and give them the gift of being there for me, if you know what I mean.
Because what you were talking about is also this self-awareness. So if I may bridge, how do you see the sense of understanding your fears and your vulnerabilities linked to resilience and self-awareness? I mean, I guess that's a triad of things: self-awareness, resilience, and our vulnerabilities. How do you tie them together?
Well, I think self-awareness is important in order to have resilience, because if you're aware of your strengths, it's much easier to tap into it when you need to tap into those resources, when you know what they are. And your weaknesses, you can work on them. There's always opportunities for improvement so that you're more prepared when difficult times come. And this, being self-aware, makes you more connected to your purpose. You have a sense of meaning. And I think that's crucial when you're going through something difficult, that you know what's meaningful to you. Why are you here? What are you here to do?
In the second part of our conversation, Christine and I explore the question, how does one know when one lacks self-awareness? And we go through several examples. We also speak to the idea of triggers and how important it is to understand our own triggers, because it gives us insight into ourselves and insight into others. And it allows us to create more empathy and understanding, to understand, for example, when we feel we're being controlled or we don't feel that we're being included. And a natural extension from this was our conversation progressed into psychological safety and the ability to validate others' emotions. So my question is then, for example, for yourself, the PR job was one of those triggers that brought you to self-awareness that, this is not exactly what I want to be doing. It's not aligned with my values or my passions. But how can we know if we are actually lacking self-awareness? Because a lot of people go around the day in sort of robot mode. They just go through the days, they do what they do, go to sleep, they get up and repeat. Yeah. How do we know when we lack self-awareness?
One signal might be if you get into the same type of difficult situation constantly, like, why does this always happen to me? If you keep saying that, it might be a good time to ask, what am I doing to make this happen? To be a little more accountable. People who get into conflicts with everyone and everything, that's a sign that they might lack some self-awareness.
That's definitely it. I mean, if you see a repeated pattern of behavior that's not actually productive, or it's not helping you move forward or relationships move forward, right, I think that's a clear indicator. That's a road sign that maybe something has to be done.
Yeah, and if you get very defensive easily, that's also a good sign to look at why do I feel the need to defend myself here? Why is it so hard to take criticism?
So it sounds like it's a two-step process. First is the what. That's to be sort of aware of maybe your triggers if you're defensive or you find patterns are unproductive. And then there's that self-awareness, which would be the understanding the why behind the what. Why am I acting like this? Why am I being defensive? And so this Enneagram, this is a tool of 9 different personality types in general. If we just talk about sort of general headlines here, they dive into the fears and the longings that a person has. But the tool itself, like how is it run? Is it a number of questions? Is it a survey? Is it something that you walk someone through in your coaching practice to help them do this self-discovery?
Yeah, well, there are several tests that you can take, but I generally think the test is just a start. It's not the answer. It's not a definite truth. But I often have clients take a test, and then we look at the results together, and we see what types do you score the highest on, and does this resonate with you or not? Because a test can never tell you really who you are, but it's a good start. And then we talk about the results, and I ask questions. Basically, when you find your type, it's a way of getting to know each other much faster. I recently started a coaching program with a Enneagram coach in the States, and I didn't even have to tell her more than the fact that I'm an Enneagram type 2 and with a 3 wing. And she already knew a ton about me, and she can ask those questions that go straight into the core. So it's a way of getting deeper much quicker.
Yeah, so the test or the survey or what have you, the questions, that just sort of sets where you are on the map. And it's through the discussions with yourself, Christina, that people actually discover ways of constructively and tangibly dealing with this. So it's not just venting. Your process is, it's venting, it's discovery, but a lot of what you've explored with me before is the ability to take them to action, to create tangible differences. Is that what I understand?
That's right. And for each personality type, there's a unique path of development. And I don't know of any other typology tools that'll give you guidelines as to how to develop, if you would like to develop. We have a little bit of all 9 types in us, but we have one leading us the most. So finding your type might take a little time. It's not as black and white as many other typologies. And the way I use it when I do workshops in companies, for example, I may do shorter workshops or 2-day workshops. But when I do workshops, I'll present all the types with examples that are easy for them to relate to. I present them all and we discuss them. And it sort of gives them a neutral language to talk about personality differences. Instead of me saying, oh, Jason, you are like this and you are like that. And this is the type that you are. And you have these kind of issues. I present it and I let it be up to them to decide, what resonates the one most with me here? Where do I find myself here? And people may, recognize patterns from their parents or their leader. And because I present them in such a balanced way, they realize that, none of these are better or worse than others. We all have our good days and our bad days. And when I'm telling them how I am on a bad day, it's much safer for them to share, oh gosh, I'm that way too. And we can laugh about it, have some humor about it, and it's not that serious. So the Enneagram can be a lot of fun, while it also has real depth to it.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's happening at 2 levels. One is if I need to do some self-discovery, self-awareness to understand sort of my inner landscape in order to move forward, like what's preventing me. But it also sounds what you're saying is when companies are approaching you, they're looking for, maybe there's some level of dysfunction within their team. They're not communicating, they're not collaborating, or, the level of cooperation could be improved. So if I was a leader of a team, what is the reason I would come to you? What is the general reasons these corporations and organizations come to you, Christina?
If they have a lot of different personalities working together, there can be a lot of tension, especially when there's high stress levels. People get triggered a lot, and triggers are one of my favorite topics. Why do people get triggered? You and I can meet the same person, and I might find a person real annoying, and you find them inspiring because we see them through different lenses. And the lens is it's our personality type, it's our relational history, it's all our baggage that we carry with us. And I just think that's so fascinating. And so I can help them get more aware and take more responsibility for their actions, so they're not so reactive, so they can choose how to respond instead of reacting on autopilot. And it's also a helpful way to see that, so when this person doesn't join us for lunch and sits there all alone every break, it's not because he doesn't like us. It's because he has a real a need for a lot of alone time. He needs to he charges when he's alone. Oh, I had no clue, and so you start to see what's behind the behavior. And most of the times people don't do things against you. They do it for themselves. They do it to protect themselves. And when you understand that, it's easier to meet people with more empathy and understanding.
If you want more, why not go back and listen to the original full conversation with my guest? You will find the link in the episode in the show notes. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll be back next week with my long-form conversational episodes on Monday and the latest BiteSize episode on Friday. And have yourself a relaxing and rejuvenating weekend.